Great. Eric, I am really excited to talk about Heartland of Darkness. I'm so glad it's finally coming out for all the generations to see after all these years. I watched the movie and I enjoyed it. It was such a wild ride with everything. I mean, the horror, the drama, everything it all fit in perfectly.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a labor of love. We made it 33 years ago, and we were always hoping it would get a good home, a good distribution, and it finally has. And it's been great. It's been a great ride.
So let's talk about the movie first in terms of how did you come up with the idea for this? What were your influences?
So the original idea began. I read a book called This Present Darkness, and it dealt with something a little bit similar with a small town with an evil reverend and a guy and his daughter moved there. And I got really inspired by that idea. And of course, I was a horror film fan. I love movies like Halloween, The Exorcist, and stuff. And I was like, what if I take some elements of that and put it together? So I wrote a script. The first script I wrote was not. It wasn't as doable as this one. It was called Spectre and had ghosts and demons, and that was really expensive. But this one we thought would be easier to do. So it was a master's thesis. I was going to an MA program at Ohio State, and I was able to convince the professors to let me make it as a master's project, and they did. So we were able to put the undergrads to use, having them crew for us. Had some local actors, and of course we eventually got Linnea Quigley, which was best of the best, and we put it together.
That's my next question. How did you get her involved? I mean, she is an icon. She is like one of the original scream queens of the 80s. How did she get involved in all this?
So we had a list of actors we really wanted to try to get for this, because the number one rule in low budget filmmaking is get a name. Get somebody that audiences will recognize. And Linnea was top of our list. We didn't think we could get her, but she was able to work her schedule, and we just needed her for like less than a week. And we were able to get her to come out to Ohio. We got her to, it was the middle of summer, so it was really hot. And she wasn't feeling too well when she did it. But oh man, we were thrilled to get her. And it makes the film so much more interesting with a great name like her. She had done The Return of the Living Dead a few years before, so she was already known to a lot of horror film fans, and we knew that she had a built-in audience as she is and was the number one Scream Queen, original one. So we knew we would have a great name with her, and we did. We proved that we did.
Yeah, and I gotta say, her role was quite interesting because I felt this vibe throughout the film that she was the puppet master behind everything. Like you had the evil reverend, but it was kind of like he's being influenced by her, and then she kind of she gives off that vibe like she was the one behind everything. So I ultimately thought she was going to be like the lead villain, but ultimately we all know that wasn't the case. But I thought that's a great little twist, thinking that in people's minds they might think she's the one behind everything. She's the puppet master, and the reverend is the puppet, with everything. I think that was a brilliant move.
Thanks for noticing that. Thanks very much for that. That's very insightful, because I wrote the part just for her, and she told me when I gave her the script, she's like, you know what? I always wanted to play a witch. She goes, I've always played other kind of characters. I never got to play an actual witch, and that's one reason why she said yes, because I promised her I'd write her a really good part. She got to play, and you're right, she got to play kind of this mistress of the dark, this inhabitant of cemeteries, and she was perfect with that. But yeah, you're right, she is kind of the puppet master along with Donovan, the evil reverend. But the two of them really team up and seduce the town and bring evil about. So she was a lot of fun with that.
And what was it like working with the other cast members? I mean, Dino was great in the lead role. I mean, hands down, that was a great role. Like I never heard of him until seeing this movie. I know he's done some other stuff, but he did a great job in this. What was it like working with the other cast members?
Oh man, they were all great. Everybody was terrific. And again, it was the hot, humid summer in Ohio back in '89. We were having them run and fire guns off and all this place. And it was extremely fortuitous that we had all these great actors that were willing to go through the motions and do all this stuff. Actors like Dino and Sharon, the daughter, they were just terrific. They were great people to work with. And, I would say, hey, in this scene, you need to fire a shotgun off. And he'd say, I never fired a shotgun, but okay. And I said, roll over and do that. I mean, we were really practicing with these guys, rehearsing with them, but they hadn't done it before. They really didn't know what to do, but they were great. It was a great experience for them, for us. And the cast was all from Central Ohio, except for Linnea, who we flew in, I think, from California. But everybody was pretty much from Central Ohio, local talent. So, we were able to tap into local people. And Dino came in and just blew us away with his audition. I mean, he nailed it. I said, as soon as he's done, that's Paul Henson. That is the guy. And since then, you asked about Dino. Since then, he became a disc jockey for one of the top radio stations in Columbus. He's like the voice. Yeah, he's like the voice that, of the radio for the drive time radio in Ohio. He's a great guy. And
he got that voice. He brought that with the performance. I was like, the way he presented himself, I'm thinking, this guy can be good for radio.
And he is.
Yeah, so it worked
very
out
cool.
Quickly.
Yeah, he is.
And another thing I liked was the special effects. I love practical. I'm always an advocate for practical effects. Only use CGI if you really absolutely have to use it. But the practical effects here were great, especially the dead body that they first noticed in the beginning of the movie. When we introduced Paul and he sees the dead body, like, holy crap. Like
so there's a great behind the scene documentary on this, and we talk about that very shot, that very scene, because that actor, and thanks for saying about the practical effects, I agree with you, always try to use reality when possible. So we took that actor, a great local actor, and we buried him in dirt, and then we created a prosthetic chest that had been ripped open. And then our special effects guy, he was phenomenal. Name was Scott Simonson. Scott Simonson went to an actual slaughterhouse and found a bunch of pig guts, intestines.
Oh my God.
And the problem is he left it in his garage in the humid Ohio summer.
Oh God.
You got it. So we took it out to the location. We dumped it on the actor in the dirt, and everybody was like ready to heave because it was so putrid. But again, the talent of that actor, he took it. He was in cold dirt up to his neck and all those guts around him. And those are real guts. When you see the film, you're like, that looks realistic. It is. Those are real guts.
That's a heck of a shot. And the fact that now I'm hearing that it's an actual guy under all that, I thought it would be like a body cast, because nowadays you'd probably be using that. I mean, that shot alone reminded me of that recent movie that just came out, Terrifier 2, where I got to see that, and there's really graphic kill in the film that's like, and the way the final result looked like something that it reminded me of that shot from your movie. And so I was like, holy cow. I'm like, but hearing this, that's just insane.
Yeah, it was one of our best practical effects, and none of us realized how good it would look. I mean, we saw in the camera, but it was so authentic that we were shooting that next to a jogging path, and some joggers were coming by and they saw us with cameras around this body that had guts there. They thought we were from the news, so they literally collapsed on the ground and started screaming. And we said, no, it's fake. It's not real. And they were like, what? And we said, no, this is just a movie we're making. And they were like, oh man, you guys are terrible. But because it looked really authentic. It looked like the real thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how long did filming take, and were there any challenges that you faced, considering that this was like practically a college project for you? Was there any challenges that you faced along the way?
Yeah, so we started filming April 1st, 1989, and we technically didn't really wrap until late fall. We were supposed to just do it for like 3 months, if that. And, but it just kept it going out. We had problems getting film. We had problems with getting enough crew people, the actors. We had to work around their schedules because everybody was working for free. So you had to make time for people who were traveling. They were doing this. You'd have to wait till they got back. So eventually, at the end of the production, we ran out of money. We thought we'd have enough to finish, but we didn't. And back then you would shoot film and you'd have to transfer. That was called telecine. You'd have to transfer the film to digital, or back then it was tape, and then you would edit on tape. So that was kind of an expensive thing to do. We didn't have enough money really to do that, which is why it got delayed for all these years, because there was a lot of extra work to do. Yeah.
I had a hunch that's what it was, because
Yeah.
I'm thinking all like it's finally getting released. I was like, I wonder if they ran out of money during the production. I've always wondered, because I've I read a few things, but I'm like, that's the first thing that popped in my head. They must have run out of money, so they
That's
had
it.
to. That's the big answer. So
Well,
wow.
my advice to all beginning filmmakers is make sure you have all the money you need for the whole film, not just for pre and prod production, but make sure you've got enough for post, because
Yeah.
it's so crazy if you run out of money. Today, you can totally edit on a computer. You can shoot with your cell phone and you can edit. We never thought we could ever do that. Those were things that were down the road by many years.
Yeah.
Today it's so much easier, but definitely if you're going to make a film today, make sure you got enough money.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people are using crowdfunding nowadays for post production, which in a
Way to
way is
do it.
good. It's like people helping people out. We all
Yeah.
so it's something great.
Yeah.
So oh man, and I gotta say kudos goes out to Wild Eye and Visual Vengeance, because they're the ones who are going to release this. And I mean, ever since I heard about this label, I've just been flashing back to my childhood. I used to watch these old shot on video horror films, or used to rent horror flicks all the time. And and now I'm getting to see these ones I've never heard of, but because they've been self-produced. But the fact that they're releasing these now, I mean, it's just mind blowing. And I've seen quite a bunch of them late, the ones that came out with so far. And this one is great as well.
Yeah, we're thrilled that they're doing a really great release of this film, and they've got all sorts of special features. We have 3 commentary tracks on this and a behind the scenes documentary. There's a whole bunch of other goodies that are packaged with this. So it's definitely worth checking out. We love what they've done for it.
Yeah, I've heard from some of the Todd Sheets, because they just released one of his older films.
Oh,
They're
cool.
like, these guys are rock stars, and they are very supportive of everyone. So if they're listening while they're releasing Visual Vengeance, you guys just keep doing what you're doing, man. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're a credit to horror fans everywhere. They're doing great releases, and the whole thing about Visual Vengeance is to make it look. They're trying to find those retro films, the ones
Yeah.
that didn't get much TLC when they were made, and that is great. So ours was shot on film, but some of their other titles were shot on video, and
Right.
that's great because some of them never saw the light of day, and now
No,
they are, which is great.
yes, and they got some great titles in that collection. And
Yeah,
I got to interview some people from there, from some of these films. So and just to hear their stories as well as hearing yours. I mean, I one thing I love is these films that didn't get released, and now years later they finally coming out for the new generation, and even the old ones who were like waiting for this stuff, and now bam, here we go. you
yeah.
know Here I am. I think 1989, I was like 10 years old. Now here I am 43, and I'm like, I like, holy crap. I just flashed back to my childhood with this. So I'm so glad you came out like it. They're finally releasing this. And so my next question is, what have you been up to since after the movie was made? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so I was trying to finish the film for all these years, doing some other films. I wrote some scripts, won some awards, got nominated for an Emmy for a TV movie I did. And, I never forgot about this film, but it was like I had to make money. I had to work and do other things. So now, my other love in college, besides filmmaking, was teaching. I love teaching undergrads. As a grad student, that's what we did. And it was terrific. So I got to work with a lot of younger people coming up and tell them the stories that we went through, all the great stuff. And so I got hired about 20 years ago at a local college teaching filmmaking and screenwriting. And it's a joy. It's the best thing in the world because I get to talk about this film, and I even show them the trailer and I say, here's what we did, and they're blown away. They everybody loves these 80s horror films, and they just
Yeah.
really dig them. They do. And so it's great to see my students who I really work for now. It's good to see them being impressed and enjoying it too, because that's really, I made it for audiences to really love. That was the whole point of doing any film, is is to have an audience react. And it's great seeing people respond to this. It really is.
That's awesome. And that's so great to hear. And I'm so glad that we're finally getting to see this film. And I know Linnea Quigley's got to be overjoyed that this is getting filmed, this is getting released as well. And I'm just really stoked. So Heartland of Darkness is coming out on November the 8th.
Yep.
And those who have been waiting this long to see it, as I have, are finally going to get to see it. And I got to tell you guys, it is a fun film. If you love 80s horror, you're going to love this one. Eric, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about this movie.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Love your site. Please keep up the great work. And, you know, thanks for being an ambassador of horror. This is great. We love it. And thank you for remembering us.
Well, thank you. And I hope everyone takes care, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.